Welcome to MyCounselor.Online. The season of transition from childhood to adulthood, high school to college, college to the workforce, all the new transition seasons that are the next level up of responsibility and decision making are so challenging. Melanie Hart wrote an article for those struggling in the seasons of transition and change. So let's go find out what she has to say. Melanie, thanks for meeting with me today to talk about your article.
Thanks, Cassie. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure. So jumping into this article, which I thought was so funny, you called it adulting anxiety, which is a real thing. There's definitely a lot of anxiety around coming into adulthood, but there's so much popular merchandise. It's like, I can't adult today, all that stuff. And it's kind of tongue in cheek, but it really is a big deal. It's a real thing that we all face as we come from childhood into adulthood. So I was just curious, what made you want to write this article?
That's a great question, and you're exactly right. It is a real thing. And a lot of people don't understand really what it is beyond the colloquialisms that we use to joke and point fun of our adulting experiences. But in the real sense, having worked with a number of young adults, it's a common thread. While they joke about it, and our pop culture jokes about adulting anxiety, it truly is a frightening experience and can be very overwhelming and paralyzing for people. And it's a very overcomable in a lot of cases. And so I wanted to kind of distill some of the joking, set that aside, and really focus on the struggles that our young people are facing today.
Yeah, I so appreciate that, because I think, like a lot of troubles that we have or challenges that we have, we think that we are the only people facing these challenges. And I love that this article, you're saying right now, there's a lot of young people that come into my office that are nervous about this, that are nervous about the components, because there are a lot of components that go into that. And what are some of the common fears or concerns from the young people that you see? And I think probably even older people in different seasons, coming into new seasons in life.
For sure. Yeah, and what you see, what I see as a common thread really is kind of lumps in certain stages of life. So when we think of the high schooler kind of in the late high school years into early college years, and they're coming into those seasons of transition of life where there's a lot of decisions to be made, and they're coming to realize that I'm the only one who can make these decisions for my life, or rather should be the only one making these decisions for my life. And so there's a lot kind of wrapped up in these transitions in life. So I'll see kind of these groupings of anxiety riddled folks around high school to college, college to the working world, maybe working world into marriage, marriage into parenting, and so on, as we experience different life changes in all those different seasons. And so with anxiety, though, it does present very similarly. And so an anxiety for a young adult is going to experience many of the same physiological symptoms that someone transitioning into parenthood might experience. Things like headaches, tightness in muscle groupings, shoulders, back, neck, onset of migraines is also very commonly associated with an anxiety response. Sickness, nausea, that pit in your stomach that just doesn't seem to go away, and a general sense of being overwhelmed whenever there's a life transition, because there's new tasks that are required of you. There's learning and growth that comes with that transition that you haven't experienced before, and you don't know what to do about it.
Yeah. And in your article, you talk about the bottom line of all of the anxiety is fear, because we don't know. Like you just said, we haven't experienced it before.
Right, right. And that fear, it is a lot fear of the unknown, but the unknown what, right? That's the big question mark. And a lot of times it's fear I'm going to fail. And if I fail, then all of these bad things will happen as a result of that failure. Or if I just don't know what's going to happen, I cannot possibly move forward. And so then I get stuck in paralysis. And in either one of those veins, commonly humankind will pigeonhole themselves into two paths. I can either do path A or path B, and there's a right decision and a wrong decision, especially with our young people, that they haven't had the experience of decision making to draw from, to help them see that there are a myriad of decisions available to you. And while you only see one or the other, I can guarantee there's a whole lot more that you haven't seen yet. And so as they sit in either being overwhelmed or being paralyzed or both simultaneously, oftentimes we get a very narrow view of what is available to us. So if we can step back, if we can come to a place of curiosity and say, I wonder, instead of I'm afraid of, then the forest starts to clear away and we're able to see more of the world in front of us.
It's so encouraging that even if we make a decision and it's the wrong decision, we can still, change direction and move forward. It doesn't wreck our life or put us somewhere where we can't recover from it. It feels that way sometimes.
It absolutely does feel that way, that if I make this one wrong choice, if I choose the wrong college, if I choose the wrong major, if I choose the wrong job, that I am going to be wrecked. I'm going to be miserable. My life is going to be over, and there's no possible way I'll get out of that, which is a lie, right? It is a lie from the enemy, because our enemy does not want us to have joy. They do not want us to have an abundant life, but our Heavenly Father wants that for us. So He is still God, even when we make a bad decision. But who's to say it's a bad decision? Because even in decision making, you learn from failure. You learn from not making a good decision, which then helps you make a better decision. And even for young people, if they look back to their life, if they look back to their experiences that they've already achieved and they've already gone through, they can draw on those as resources for future decision making.
That's so encouraging. It's great that we have those experiences, all of us within ourselves, to look back and say, well, maybe that wasn't the best choice, but what did I learn? And what am I doing now so that I never do that again? Or maybe that was a good choice. And why was it a good choice? Let's keep doing that because I learned the reason why it was a good choice. So that's super cool. So when somebody comes to your office and they are paralyzed, what are you going to tell them to do? How are you, what advice are you going to give them?
Yeah, paralysis, the opposite of that kind of mental and psychological paralysis, is action. What do you think you should do? And then let's start down that path, because until you start down that path, you're stuck with only the information that you have right now. And oftentimes what you need is more information, but you can't get more information until you take action. So whatever you think is the best choice for you to make it. Go with that until you get more information that tells you to do something different. And if we start to think of our life's journey more as a tree instead of a road, we realize that there are all sorts of branches and corners and opportunities for us to take, rather than destination A to destination B, which is very limiting. And life should not be limiting.
I love that illustration. That's really cool. Well, thank you for this article, and I hope there are a lot of people encouraged by it. And thank you for meeting with me today.
Thank you, Cassie. It's been a pleasure.
That was such a great interview and article. I loved that illustration about our life being like a tree. So many possibilities, so many opportunities. How awesome is that? To read this article in its entirety, you can find it and a slew of other resources by a myriad of our other therapists at MyCounselor.Online.